Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, Rocky versus Apollo Creed, Little Mac versus Mike Tyson. Today, a brand new boxing rivalry is formed between Junk Dog Joe and Yuri the Unstoppable. After watching the very first episode of Megalobox, I was absolutely hyped for this one right here, as they ended it right before Junk Dog and Yuri could finally have their proper Megaloboxing match. And this episode did not disappoint. It was awesome from beginning to end. Not only was the fight incredibly entertaining, but it was a big moment of humility for Junk Dog, as he realizes that there are bigger fish out there, and he has a much taller ladder to climb. However, his spirit and his will not be diminished. Even after getting his clock cleaned by Yuri in this episode, he still wants to throw down with him, believing that he can win. He realizes he has the skill to do this. The problem is, Yuri isn't going to fight him anymore after he defeats him. He puts up a challenge for Junk Dog. He says that if you want to come at me, you're going to have to fight me in my very own ring, which of course means he's going to have to be a part of Megalomania. Something that Junk Dog's trainer, Nanbu, does not want anything to do with, because he just doesn't really seem to have any faith in this guy, and he's more about playing for the easy money. Actually, this ends up biting him in the ass in this episode, as during the fight with Yuri, basically a fire was lit in Junk Dog's belly. He wants more, and he's sick of faking and throwing fights, and when he gets to have another underground fight with this guy, he just casually walks up to him and just takes him out in one shot. Now, while this is really awesome and it's a big act of defiance from Junk Dog, it ends up getting Nanbu in trouble with his employer, who goes by the name of Fujimaki, who's this mob boss who looks like friggin' Frankenstein. He's even got this really cool, like, dragon tattoo on his arm, and he's really intimidating without even really saying anything. There's a great scene where Nanbu is just begging this guy. He's saying, "I'll do anything to get your money," and Fujimaki is just sort of casually cooking right in front of him. It's a really great moment, yet at the same time, Fujimaki tends to be very intimidating, as it's implied that they kill people and straight up cook them alive. While all this is going on, someone in the back is being tortured, and you hear their screams, and it's just freaking Nanbu out. Now, the only way he is going to be able to get Fujimaki's money is he's forcibly going to have to put Junk Dog in Megalomania, which he knows is not going to be a problem for him, but there's no guarantee that he's going to win. And with only 3 months until the big tournament, they have a lot of training to do and a lot of fights to get through. They're really going to have to perfect his form, which, with Junk Dog's spirit, I really do believe is going to be possible. Fujimaki reluctantly decides to go with Nanbu's plan, and Junk Dog is super happy. The thing is, though, he's like this weird street rat orphan. He doesn't really like have any credentials or even like a real name. So they go to Fujimaki and they get a little bit of help from him, and apparently this one guy who was killed, his entire identity is erased and it's given to Junk Dog, and he now takes on the nickname of Joe, which is a great reference to the fact that this is a spiritual successor / remake of the Ashita no Joe manga and anime franchise. I just thought the way that ended was really awesome, although I have to admit, while Joe is the perfect name for him for this type of series, I just thought Junk Dog sounded a lot cooler, so I'm going to call him Junk Dog Joe. All I know is this was a really hype episode, which has a very simple premise. This is almost like every other boxing story that's ever been told. A young fledgling fighter comes out, meets a rival, gets defeated, and has to get even stronger to overcome and defeat him. Originally, I thought that this was a franchise that took a lot of inspiration from Rocky, but actually, I can actually see how Rocky took a lot of inspiration from Ashita no Joe. They are very similar in many senses. Basically, this is going to be the underdog story, and I can't wait to see how it's all going to play out and how this whole, like, gear, weird mechanical robot arm thing is actually going to end up paying off in the series, as at the moment, it's mostly just cosmetic. This is still a standard boxing show. The thing is, though, it looks really good while it does it. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Megalobox? this was another fantastic episode, which reaffirmed that this is going to be one of the best looking shows of the entire season. You know, it's not even the character designs, it's mostly just the environments that they exist in. They are so well crafted, and every single inch is just so detailed. Everything looks lived in, and it's just so perfect. You can believe that these characters actually live in this world. But if it's a boxing series, it's got to have some really great boxing scenes, and the opening of this episode was no exception. It was just awesome, especially with Yuri, who's just so incredibly powerful in the battle, and initially he decides he's not going to use his right arm or hand at all, and he's just going to try and take him out with his left. But of course, Junk Dog does manage to almost get him right in the face, and that's when he is forced to use his right and bring out his full power. And what I love about this is it's a very calculated fight. It's not just a bunch of dudes throwing punches. They have a lot of really interesting tells, like when Junk Dog goes in really close, and Yuri makes it look like he's actually going to go for his open stomach, but this is all actually a bluff, which he uses to take out Junk Dog in one massive punch. It is just brutal, and the speed at which it happens is insane, and I love the style that they use to make this happen, because you see Yuri's hand back in the frame, and as it starts to come forward, it completely envelops the entire freaking picture, and then the next thing you see is just Junk Dog's face just getting completely jacked, just exploding away from this fist which just hit him. It is a thing of beauty. It's just awesome, and it just intensifies their rivalry so much more. And I love Yuri as a character so far, because he doesn't seem like a villain type of character. He does seem like someone who does have a little bit of honor. You could argue that he tried to run away from a second fight, but in the rules of boxing, he beat Junk Dog. He got knocked out, he lost to the count, and that was it. And for him to challenge him and tell him to come to his house, I think that's pretty freaking awesome. It also ensures that we're going to see a lot of training for Junk Dog, and he's probably going to go up against a ton of other opponents. I can't wait to see how they're going to turn this basically literal Junk Dog into a purebred boxing badass. Can't wait to see it. I'd also be remiss if I didn't talk about the intro, which finally appeared in this episode, and I really like it. It was really strange at first. It's not a very subtle intro in that most of it is dedicated to this raggedy, old-looking orphan dog, which basically is the representation of Junk Dog himself. And you get to see just him struggling to survive, running across the landscape, meeting strong opponents, and always managing to overcome them. That with a few teases of some of the characters who are going to appear here. It's a very visually striking intro, and the music is also really solid. Really, the best thing about the show is the style. I mean, the actual story itself, there's really nothing that new or unique about it, but it's simple enough to get behind, and it's complemented by really great characters and just some of the best backdrops I've ever seen. Like, I can't stress that enough. Every single location just looks great. I really love the attention to detail in this show, and even though in the first episode I did complain a bit about the fact that the actual picture itself almost seems a little muted, a little washed out, I think it actually goes to the benefit of the show for how detailed everything is. It just gives it a way more unique art style. However, there are enough modern touches here to make it look really unique and really awesome. And like I said, the actual boxing scenes themselves are really satisfying. If this is just an appetizer for what we're going to get, we can expect some really great things from this show. So Megalobox is definitely a show that I would highly recommend checking out if you're looking for a really fun sports anime with some really intense action and some surprisingly lovable characters. Can't wait to see more from this one. It's also got some of the best production value of anything that I've seen from a while, and one of the better looking shows this anime season, so make sure to check it out. I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 5. I thought it was another perfect episode. Since I haven't seen Ashita no Joe, I don't know how much this is actually copying from that story, so it all feels kind of fresh to me, but yet at the same time, because I've seen just so many boxing movies and TV shows, it also feels kind of familiar as well. So in many ways, this is kind of like a really good gateway anime for people who don't necessarily like the genre that much. This is something that could get them into it, as who doesn't like a good underdog story? Another great episode. Can't wait to see the next one. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. Make sure to tell me in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of Megalobox. Let's start a discussion, guys. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.